the modern day star, Tim Tabor, and now that my mindset is clear and I've gotten rid of the plague known as Tommy Fame, I have my focus set. Tony Leyanda, you call yourself the Workhorse champion, yet you won't show up to work. Me and Carlson tore the house down in the last show, and tonight I'm going to show you why I am the Workhorse. And I'm going to take the title that is rightfully mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Fresh. With me is Jason Heath.
Howdy, howdy.
And this is 1CW on Delmarva Sports Network.
The Workhorse title is on the line as La Crema, Tony Leyanda, returns to Houston, Delaware.
La Crema, how long has it been since he's held that title? It's been months now.
A dominant reign by the man who best represents pro wrestling Riz, if I've ever seen it.
The Riz for shiz.
Sure. You ever wanted to hear aging millennials try and be hip? Replay the last 40 seconds of commentary.
I've got a lot more coming. Out comes the rock star, Tim Tabor. Listen to that crowd reaction after that match he had with Ranch and Carlson.
It was a brutal match last month between Tim Tabor and his mentor, trainer, Sean Carlson. And in that match, Tabor clearly won the respect of Sean Carlson, but it sounds like more than just Carlson won the respect and adulation he had been so trying to receive from the 1CW fans.
Tim Tabor looking a little more svelte after dropping that 20 pounds of Princess Peach.
This is our first time seeing Tim Tabor in action after he was dropped, as you said, by Tommy Fame and The Market. That group of Tommy Fame, Mike Z, and Miles Millennium. But never forget, it was Tim Tabor who was Tommy Fame's original client, and it was Tommy Fame, the devil on the shoulder of Tim Tabor, that caused Tabor to sort of act out on that jealousy and resentment he had been feeling towards Sean Carlson.
This crowd getting behind him. I gotta say, one show you take on Ranch and the next show you take on La Crema, that is a big task for any man.
Tough schedule for Tim Tabor in this battle of David versus Adonis.
His name's Tim.
No, I'm saying that Tony Leyanda is a beautiful man.
I know. We all know how you feel about Tony Leyanda.
Just
La Crema.
Was the size, the strength, the looks. I mean, we talk about having it in professional wrestling. Look it up in your old Encyclopedia Britannica. You will see Tony Leyanda under it.
And Tim Tabor playing with Leyanda there, tapping his pecs, holding his hands up over his head. Surprising agility.
Tim Tabor is always undersized but never outmatched. He has learned from the moment that he stepped in the wrestling ring that he would usually be the smallest dog in the fight. So he is the dog that always bites the hardest.
You could almost say that this is Tim Tabor's coming out match in 1CW. He's no longer with the Fandamly. He's no longer with Tommy Fame. And this is really, I think, the beginning of seeing Tim for who he really is.
We know exactly who Tony Leyanda is, though. That is a gold chipper right there. That is not the future, that's the present. Done by big-time Tim Tabor.
Tim going move for move with him, rolling back up again. Tim Tabor, did you ever think he was going to be able to move like this?
I mean, it is incredible to see the improvements that Tim Tabor has made over the last several years. He is so young, by far the youngest member of the 1CW roster, and he's already this good.
Just rocking Leyanda.
With that rock star life, sending Leyanda up and over the top, and Tim Tabor has cleared the ring.
I don't think there's anybody more surprised about this right now than Mr. Leyanda.
Tim Tabor is tough, and young AF.
Don't forget, that match he had with Carlson involved a beating with a leather strap.
But Tim Tabor, still a rookie, still a young man, and as they say, Tony Leyanda is a grown-ass man. Tony Leyanda has been through some hardship. He came from nothing and has promised he will never return to that. And you see that attitude now. When Leyanda gets into the next gear, you are in trouble.
Stretching him, just driving those metal edges of the ring post into the ribs of Tim Tabor.
The spine is not supposed to blunt.
Leyanda stalking Tabor.
Great word for it. Just look at those eyes, not losing focus for a moment.
I think Leyanda's more angry and embarrassed, and now he needs to teach Tim a little bit of a lesson here.
Well, Tony Leyanda's temper has been his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. It can be the Achilles heel. But when he uses that anger to focus and just intensify, his offense enhances.
Tony Leyanda pushing Tim to the top. But Tim Tabor trying to reverse it. Tony Leyanda blocking the reversal, grabbing Tim's hands, jumping off of him. Tim moves out of the way of the stomp. Tiny Tim gets Tony up on his shoulders. Reversal. This is a fight, ladies and gentlemen.
Now Tony Leyanda choking Tim Tabor against that second rope. What do you do against someone who has the cardio that Tim Tabor has, Mike? You make sure they can't even breathe.
And the way he's driving that knee into his back and stretching him over that top rope is making sure of that.
You make sure that your opponent can't get oxygen to those muscles any way at all.
And just a second ago, like you were mentioning about the steel post in the spine, Tim was just holding his lower back, eating an elbow to the face.
The urgency by Tony Leyanda hits that elbow immediately down into the cover. Tim Tabor kicks out immediately into the submission. You love to see it. Tony Leyanda is a consummate professional. He is a businessman. He is not in this for anything other than making as much money for himself and his family as possible.
Now he's taking it to Tim Tabor. Tim hasn't had a second to breathe in the last few minutes.
Well, you mentioned yourself that Tim Tabor wants to live that rock and roll lifestyle, and you wonder if sometimes that glitz and that glamour isn't a distraction for a kid like Tim Tabor.
I got to take it to Tim. No matter the outcome of this match, between Carlson and this, he has taken some big swings and just keeps getting up, showing the heart that he really has.
Well, it was that impressive showing against Sean Carlson that led to Tim Tabor being rewarded with this Workhorse title match. And Tony Leyanda has been beating some of the top wrestlers in this company month after month after month. And you can put Tim Tabor right on that list, potentially, especially if Tony Leyanda is able to slay this particular young man.
Leaning back.
Great tower there by Tim Tabor.
Again, that damaged back, not being able to get Tony up at all.
And ever since being caught maybe a little bit unawares early on by Tabor's speed, Tony Leyanda has had an answer for everything, just forcing Tabor into the ring.
Quick cover, 2.5. Tony Leyanda can't believe it.
A scream of frustration, almost unintentional, right? Like that was ripped straight from his sternum.
This crowd loving the new fire in Tim's belly.
Looking for starstruck. Tony Leyanda calling for the end.
Tim under, got him up on his shoulders.
Third time is the charm, the Samoan drop. Had the arm laid across the chest, but instead of going for the cover, rolling to try and recover.
Is his back strong enough to stand up to cover Tony Leyanda? That must have taken every last ounce of strength that his back had.
Tony Leyanda battling to his feet, needs to get the ropes for assistance, but still first to a vertical base.
Tim with a burst of strength, knocking the spit out of Tony's mouth.
The young prodigy, Tim Tabor, with the DDT, and at the last inch of a second, Tony Leyanda was able to get that shoulder up. Call me out if this is hyperbole, because I'm not trying to do so. This may be the toughest test that Tony Leyanda has faced so far in this ring.
I completely agree with you. And I think he came here unprepared. I don't think that he took Tim Tabor nearly as seriously as he should have.
Well, I don't think this is the wrestler that Tim Tabor was before a month ago. I don't think you could have prepared for this version of Tim Tabor.
Almost walking out the champion.
It was that moment of hesitation on that top rope. Tabor had to steady himself and get into position when he landed on that ropes, and I think that's what kept him from getting full momentum.
Just barely stopping, eating a low blow.
Taking advantage of the referee's lack of attention, and starstruck, center of the ring.
That was an amazing end to an even more amazing match.